Welcome back to the Center for Off-Road Research Shenanigans' Science Technical Division. And today I'm going to show you how, this is just a mini video from the bigger video we had before, how to take care of these ball joints and without having to watch the whole hour-long critique of the entire chassis and drivetrain. At the end of this video, I'm also going to have a note for manufacturers, because I haven't seen any of them do what I'm about to tell them, and it would dramatically improve the way small crawlers will operate and the way big crawlers, like, or I should say bouncers like the Rift, they would benefit from this, because if they built them the way I said, they would not side load the ball joints, and they would just operate more free. So that's a note from manufacturers at the end. And like I said, I don't have a degree, but I do things that just make sense. And I know that's not allowed anymore, but we're going to do it anyway tonight. So first thing I'm going to do is show you on this. Again, I've done the front ball joints, and I want you to really look right here at this one and just notice the motion of these. They can actually swivel on the ball joint. See how they can move and kind of pivot on the ball joint? You know, they actually have some motion. Okay, the ones in the back, one side kind of does a little bit, but they're basically frozen. And the small ball joints here, the nice ones that have the metal screw-on ball joints, those don't move at all. See, that's frozen. It's stationary, and I'm moving the suspension full side to side. Same for this one right here, that one, okay, and that one is also frozen. So because all four of mine are frozen, I'm going to make a generalization and say that almost every one of them out there are frozen, because they're made from the same mold and they're going on the same sized ball joint. So as a generalization, I'm going to say they're all frozen. And this joint here does give some side to side, but not much. Okay, not a lot. But I'm going to show you how I fix all this. And I do get full articulation out of it, but it's not right, because it's a very stiff articulation, because that tension, spring tension, is actually coming from the upper ball joints not even moving. I'll show you this. Even when I compress this, there's no rotation on this link right here, the small one, none at all. So I'm actually bending the upper control links, because that's where the spring tension is coming from, not the shocks or the springs, the metal springs. See how those are stationary? These here do pivot like a hinge. They don't swivel back and forth, but the ones below it are stationary. Those are frozen. And this is why the thing wants to tip over so easy, is because the chassis never has a chance to settle. It's always stiff and bouncy, because it's bouncing on those control arms. If you look back here, this part of the control arm is moving. See that? But you get to the front, up here, there's no motion. That's why this thing looks so stiff when it drives. And like I said, I do get full articulation out of it right now, just by just because the thing is so heavy. It can bend the links, but like I told you, that's not right, and it's going to want to tip over the second it's just too stiff, and we'll fix it. So first thing I'm going to do is take off all these parts. I'm not probably going to touch this or this. I'm going to leave these alone. They're not necessary. If one side can swivel properly, that's all you need. I'm going to leave these alone just because I don't want to mess with that. But I'm going to deal with all four of these links, and that should be enough. All right, this is just a quick thing here. These upper tie rod ends, front and back, that have these ball joints are what are really tying up the suspension. And you can see them, they're tight, they don't move freely. You can actually bend the whole rod by trying to push them. Both of them are tight, and that should never be. These control rod, these suspension links aren't bad. This one actually has decent pivot in the back. This one has a little less, but it's still fine. You can see it moves, and I'm actually pretty happy with that. They've done these back ones right, so those are good. The front ones, however, are tight, and they can move, but they don't really want to. And what's happening is these little ears that come off, the flanges, whatever they are, they're coming in contact with the link itself. And once that flange hits the plastic link, it stops. It can't roll anymore. And if you look at it, there's about a millimeter there, maybe a little bit. That's about a millimeter. And to have another millimeter of twist here means a lot more at the end of an arm. What maybe a millimeter here, maybe 14 here. Who knows? Some different number. But I'm gonna turn these into a ball with no flanges, and I'm actually gonna do the grinding in a corner on the floor. So if I drop it or it goes flying, it hits the walls right in front of me and it can't go anywhere. And these, I'll show you how I do this. This is a mini Z trick that I'll show you that works really good. First thing, here's how you get them out. Just pull it, comes right out. And it has this black finish on it it feels kind of rough. And why they would have a black rough finish on a part that's supposed to move, man, I don't know. Makes no sense to me. What I do is I put the threads, yep. I don't worry about the threads, they'll be fine. But I'm going to put the threads in there, make sure it rotates true, or as true as it can be. Then I'll lock it down kind of tight. And it will flatten the threads slightly, but it doesn't matter. And that's able to spin now. And I just have a nail file. I don't know where I acquired this, but I got it. Anyway, you saw how it went from black to that silver. Well, this is a medium one. It's going to cut a lot of metal quickly, but a lot of metal needs to come off. So I'm going to spin it pretty quick just to not be at this all night. And then I'll go to the fine side, and then I also have some of this Mother's mag polish, and this will turn this into a mirror finish that has no resistance hardly at all. And again, it's just take everything off, grind it with the nail file, go to the smoother side to get a finer cut, and polish, and I'll show you what it looks like at the end. That's what it looks like at the end. That's not a bad product. And you might have to test fit it more than once, maybe even have to do a little grinding more than once to make sure that when it goes back in, it's not locked up. It only takes a minute to do this as far as the actual spinning and sanding on it. And I'll try to pop this in and see how it does it. And you can see that that's free moving now, no issues at all. And I only did it for like a minute. I did leave it, well, it does want to drop, so that's about right. Just barely sticks at the top, but in the center, see how it falls? That's how you want it. There's no slop, but it's not tight either. So that one's ready to go back on. I'll do the other side. This is a 10th scale link, and it can work without taking the little flanges off the sides, because at this scale you have the space to be able to have the ball large enough to where you still have plenty of room for that to swivel. Well, if the plastic hole was much smaller, eventually, if it closed in around that flange, it would stop it from moving, because it would be inside of the link. And that's sort of what is happening here. At this scale, it just doesn't work out, because proportionally that's a much larger thing than on the 10 scale, and they just don't move enough, and they're pretty stiff. And this is where I go into a corner on the floor, and I'll just hold it on the end of this screwdriver, and it's got a, I don't know what kind of hex bit that is, but what size, I don't use it, so it's fine. If I nick it, I don't care. And I'm just going to take it off with the Dremel tool, and I'm going to do it on both sides. That's now a round ball. When it goes back in, there will be nothing to stop it from rotating except for the screw that goes through it. So that'll be a much more free piece. I'll get the other side done and put it back together and show you how it moves that way. There's ball joint number 2 ready to go back in. Here it is put back together, and you can see that those end links now pivot. They could not do that before, and we were bending the links. They swivel now just like they're supposed to. So that's a much better system again. And look at that, it's even a little bouncy in the back now. How about that? That means that it's free, and I can work with that. If you start off bouncy, you can always put a little grease in the shocks, or a little bit of oil in your oil-filled shocks. That mine had none in the other day. So I mean, there's things you can do from there. But when you start off with a chassis that's free and working properly, that's a starting place. If you have a chassis that doesn't even that doesn't function, it has no freedom of movement, there's no point in even trying to do anything with it, because it's not going to work. Anything you do is fighting against itself. So I promised I would talk to manufacturers next, and or at the end of the video, and I've drawn up some things that I want you guys to look at. We're going to look at skid plates and these channels for the links. Notice you've got right angles here and a right angle here. These boxes are all right angles, but yet we have links coming out at some other angle that's not a right angle. And I've drawn this to show what's happening. The pencil is the skid plate. These black lines are the pins, or the screws that the control arms pivot on, and that's pretty typical of every manufacturer. You'll see it like this. Some will do a little better and do it like this. At least the end link is centered on the screw. It's not already giving up a lot of its travel, and I'll show you an example of that. This is my axial rift, and this is a mean machine. I love this thing. But you can see here that they have curved arms, and it's not usually a problem, but anytime you have a bent piece of plastic, you're giving away strength. And in this case, on this side, because it's the force is coming into this screw at an angle, it's actually popped it off of the knuckle. I can pop it back on, but the next time it takes a big hit where the force is transferred straight at that ball joint again, it's just going to do that and pop it back off. So, you know, this could have been fixed real easy, and I'm going to show you how to do that. And just So you know, this is my Traxxas TRX. Same thing, it's got curved links that go into right angle buckets. All 4 links. My Red Cat Gen 7 with the Vader skid plate. Right angles, only these don't even bend, they just come straight in like the small scale. Alright, so it's everybody does it this way. I'm not sure why, but I'm going to show every manufacturer a better way to make these move better and be more durable. Alright, this is a halfway fix, but what we've done here is if the arm is coming at an angle, why not make the box match the angle of the arm? But better yet, how about we make the box like this? Angle the screws so they're 90 degrees perpendicular to the arm. It would be nothing to mold the plastic that way. I've even showed you the angles on how to do it here. And why has this not been done? This makes sense. If shot comes straight at this, you're taking it straight in. It's not going to pop the knuckle sideways. You're not going to bend the end link, the plastic end link. Just angle the screws, angle the slots that it goes in. It's not going to be an issue. In fact, I've even done that here on one of the links. If you look here, I angled this one because this particular link came out at such an angle that the plastic on the side of the link here was hitting the skid plate. So manufacturers, all of you, Axial, Traxxas, Arma, you know, Tetra, anybody who makes anything with a skid plate, how about let's have screws angled this way. Mold this centerpiece out a little farther and just have the screw go in sideways, like this. Have the other one go in like this. It's an easy fix. Everything will work smoother. You don't have to have any fancy weak bent links. You're welcome. And Panda, this is for you guys. I think your product has a lot of potential. It could be really great if you take a lot of advice that I've told you guys. It would fix a lot of the stuff. This thing needs a bigger motor. It needs better machine gears that track smoother. And this body is actually really good. I don't want to talk bad about the body at all. It's good. I will give you a recommendation though. It's very heavy. And that's not, we could use that weight to our benefit. Okay, with a little bit more positioning strategically, this could have been a lower CG body. And I'll show you how to do that. We have something here that basically we have weights as high up on the vehicle as they could possibly be. On version 2, if you wanted to do something great with the weights that would actually help it crawl, put the positive one here and the negative one here, and that'll do a couple of things. It will lower the entire CG and put a hinge somewhere. I mean, do a magnet mount here and a magnet mount here, or 2 up front. That's fine. Hinge it in the back. Get rid of this. This is unnecessary. You only need 2 magnets in order to transfer the electricity. Put them as low as you can in the body, and you know, this is actually pretty good wiring. I looked at it. It's well done. I would like to see the wire be that more flexible spaghetti wire, because this stuff is really stiff. It feels like plastic instead of rubber. So materials upgrade would be good. And I'll show you how to blow an ESC. Here's how you blow an ESC. You got your truck, you just pull it off, you've been driving it around, and you just want to look at something. So you come in here and you take the body off and you put it down and start messing with it, and then you go to turn it over, and what's happened is this. You've just direct shorted your ESC because something on your table just crossed it. It might be an Allen wrench, it might be a screwdriver, but this is a blown ESC. And if you had the magnet mounts on either side of the body, you've got one here, you've got one here, the chances of something contacting both of those simultaneously is nil. It can't happen. So version 2, if you follow these recommendations, will be a really good truck. You guys are onto some really nice stuff here. It just needs a little bit of tweaking, and it could have been great. So any manufacturer that wants to make something, just take what's here, take the advice that I have, fix the little things, and you will unveil one of the best 124 crawlers that there ever was. Just quality materials. We'll pay more for quality. I mean, how many people don't buy a $120 car and then wind up with $400 in it? So we'll pay more. We don't want to pay more. A lot of these things are zero cost things. Conical holes, a low clearance link. It's how you mold plastic. That really costs you nothing. A better motor, a better ESC. In the long run, you're not replacing them on warranty or recall. So quality counts, and Axial puts out quality. There's no reason this could not fit a slightly different niche and have the same quality. I think that's all I have to say about it. Hope it helps. Hope y'all have a good night, and we'll talk to you later.